So child's pose. The reason we're starting in child's pose is because you can really connect with what's going on in your lower back, your upper back in this posture. So you might need to kind of start to move your hips around just to get comfortable. And I know it's a long time to be in child's pose, but you're allowing gravity to kind of bring your belly in between those thighs. Forehead can be on your arms or into the mat. Arms extend out in front of you for extended child. One more deep inhale through the nose. Let it fill the lungs, the belly expands. And then exhale, completely let it go. And now coming up onto your hands and knees. Start to move the knees underneath the hips. Inhale, come into your cow. Let the belly kind of drop down as your chest lifts. Exhale into cat. And it's kind of helpful as you come into these first cat-cows to press into your shins and the tops of your feet as you arch your spine coming into cat. And you get a little deeper arch, a little deeper opening in your shoulder blades. And then inhaling, coming into cow. And then looking over your right shoulder, make a little C with your side body here. As you look over your right shoulder to your right hip. And then over to the opposite side. A little wag in the tail here of your dog. Look over your left shoulder. A couple more times, back and forth. Just really start to connect with what kind of habitual habit or habitual patterns have caused your back to be a little tighter. And then bring your awareness to your right leg. Extend your right ball of your foot out behind you to the mat and press the heel away. So you can really feel a nice stretch all the way up that leg. And if you'd like, bring your awareness to that left knee and just pick the left knee and left leg up off the mat, maybe an inch or two. Start to feel that connection just about 2 fingers below the navel. Uddiyana Bandha, one of your root locks. And then lower that left knee down and pick the right leg up. Toes point to the floor. Keep that bandha, if you can, that root lock, about 2 fingers below the belly button. Try to pull it into your spine. And then if your shoulder's okay with it, sweep that left arm forward. Roll that left thumb up into the sky. Coming into a little bit more of a dynamic cat-cow now. Exhale, round the spine. Bring that left elbow to the right knee. Inhale, expand out. Give yourself a little spinal traction here. Reach the left arm forward and then exhale, round the spine, left elbow to right knee, underneath you. Inhale, expand. Exhale, round the spine, elbow to knee. One more time, expand out. And then lower that left palm, lower that right foot. Move your left foot behind you like a kickstand and come into a side plank here, supported side plank. Stacking right shoulder over left. You take that right arm now. We're going to sweep the right arm behind you, reaching for that left hip crease. Maybe the left pocket if you had a pocket back there. Roll that right shoulder behind you. Maybe look up past that right shoulder. Should feel good this morning. And now coming up onto the left knee. Just lift up onto that left knee. Your right foot is flat. Pinky toe, big toe on the floor. Slide that right hand down the leg. Sweep the left arm up and over. So like you're pressing your foot through the floor, press the knee into the floor, get a little bit more space, and then grab your left wrist with your right hand. Pull that space out and over. Lifting up, lower your palms to the floor. Inhale up onto the fingertips. That right leg is staying out perpendicular from your body. You can feel that right inner groin. And then exhale, start to walk the hands out. Come to the forearms, maybe the elbows, let the chin tuck, and find your breath. Wherever you've stopped, take a nice deep breath in as if that breath is going to stretch that inner groin, and it actually will if you're using a diaphragmatic breath. If this isn't interesting enough for you, you can always start to move the hips back so you're in like a half child's pose, and then flip the toes up. This is just a little more intense for that inner groin. If you've slid your hips back onto that left lower leg, find your breath. So yes, it's a healthy backs class, but a lot of times people have weak backs because their hamstrings are tight, pulls on that lower back, or because their abdominal area is weak. So we're going to work a bit on that area. And then lifting up, if your hips are back, lift up onto that left knee and walk your right foot forward. So you'll be at a 90-degree angle. Move the hands to the inside of the foot, knee over the ankle. Inhale up under the fingertips for length. Pull that right hip back and then walk the hands out, forward fold. Yep, a little bit humbling to go into this posture, this humble warrior pose so early, but it also gives you a lot of input, a lot of feedback into what's happening into that right side of the back, the hip. Wherever you've stopped holding, take a nice deep breath, fill the body cavity, and then exhale, let something that you're holding on to go. So soften the shoulders, the wrists, the neck. Find your breath. Two more breaths. Inhale. Notice how with each exhale that you're softening into the pose, no longer resisting sensation. And then plant the palms, lifting up. Lift up all the way up onto that left knee and start to slide your right heel out. So this is where we're going to get a lot of feedback from those hamstrings. Start to bring your hands onto the right thigh, just above the knee. If this is okay, you can bring your hands down on either side of the leg to the floor. Maybe even if you have like a bolster or a block, you can place your hands on that. So we're going to go in and out of this a few times. Lift up, let go, exhale, forward fold, chin towards chin. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, lower down, chin towards chin. Might only be a micro movement, but you'll notice. Inhale, lift up. Pull that right hip back in line with left. One more time. Forward fold, chin towards chin. Hold the fold, but continue to breathe just as dynamically. Last exhale, soften. And then lifting up out of that pose, come back into table. Hands and knees on the mat. A couple cat-cows to work out any imbalances. Make it feel good. And then bring your awareness to the left leg. Extend your left leg out. Bring the left ball of the foot to the mat and press the heel away. Really liven up that back of that leg this morning. And now, if you'd like, pick that right knee up about an inch or two off the mat. The right knee, the right leg off. Feel a little bit of vibration and heat building in that belly. And if that right leg is up, lower it down. Press the right shin and knee into the mat and lift that left leg up. Toes point to the floor. And if the shoulder's okay, sweep that right arm forward. Roll that right thumb up into the ceiling. As you exhale, come into a more dynamic cat-cow. Exhale, right elbow to left knee, round the spine. Inhale, expand out. Exhale, right elbow to left knee, round the spine. Inhale, expand. Exhale, right elbow to left knee. Inhale, expand out. And now lower that right hand down, lower the left foot down, and move the right foot behind you like a kickstand. Stack left shoulder over right. Pick that left arm up and sweep it behind you, reaching for the right hip crease. Roll that left shoulder back, looking up over the shoulder. So if you've been hunched over a computer a lot, driving a lot, this should feel really good. And then planting your right knee into the mat firmly, lift up, standing on right knee. Left leg stays out, perpendicular. Sweep the right arm over the ear, side bend to your left. Maybe grab the right wrist with the left hand, pull the length out of the right side. And then lifting up and lower both hands to the mat. Lift up onto the fingertips for length. Exhale, walk the hands out, forward fold, chin tucks. Move the breath so that you can feel it open the back and the inner groin. If you want to start to move the hips back, this is a little deeper stretch. Maybe flip the left toes up as you move the hips back. Just another option to keep your mind focused, to make it interesting for you. If the hips are back, come back up onto that right knee and walk your left foot forward to a 90-degree angle. Lifting up, standing on the right knee, and then move the hands to the inside of the foot. Lift up onto the fingertips for length. Pull that left hip back and forward fold. Just walk the hands out, maybe 5-6 inches to make room for the heart to melt to the floor. Wherever your body has stopped, take a nice deep breath into the lower back, the hip, the belly. Expand that whole area with the breath. Very often, one side will feel differently than the other, and this is a great place to kind of understand how your habitual patterns affect your body's balance or imbalances. And if you're still folded, lift up. You're going to stand on your right knee, lifting up. Bring your hands to that left thigh. Start to slide your left heel out. So a little more intense variation is to flex that foot. So pull the toes back and towards your face. Hands can stay on the left thigh, or bring the hands down on either side of the leg. Inhale up, lift up a little bit, pull that left hip back, and then exhale, chin towards shin. Doesn't need to be a big move. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, fold in, chin towards shin. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, chin towards shin. This time we're going to hold the fold, but continue to breathe just as mindfully. And then lifting up out of this half monkey pose. And come back into table pose. Bring your big toes together. Come back into child's pose. Balasana. This is kind of a little barometer here. Maybe compare from the first time you were here. Forehead to the floor, or make a pillow with your arms. And sink down. Slide back up into table pose when you're ready. And we're going to slide the right knee forward towards your right wrist. And start in sleeping swan. So just fall over onto that right side. And then walking your chest over to that right shin. Just allow the belly, the chest to fall over that right shin. So this is one variation. If you know pigeon and you want to go into pigeon, you're going to face the short end of your mat. Hips are even. And start to slide that left leg back. So you'll be on the top of the left thigh, the top of the left foot. Hands come to the floor. Maybe you'll come to your forearms, maybe the elbows, maybe even the forehead if you're very open in your hips. Nice deep breath. Let the belly raise right up onto that right ankle or shin, whether you're in sleeping swan or pigeon. Takes about 4 or 5 breaths before we can start to settle in. So one last breath. And then lifting up out of your forward fold, whatever you've chosen. Roll onto that right hip and sweep this left leg around outside the right hip, preparing for a twist. I take a second here to let this left hip come to the floor. If the foot outside the leg is a little too intense, just bring the foot in front of the shin, sitting on both sit bones evenly. Now, when you're ready, the left fingertips behind you, close to the tailbone, and then move the belly to your left, like you're bringing the intestines across the thigh. Hold on to the knee with your crook of your arm or outside the leg so you can continue to twist, lifting up into a little taller sit. Expand on your inhale. Exhale, twist to the left. Roll that left shoulder blade back. Inhale, get tall. Exhale, wind one more bit. And then unwind to your right, one breath. Staying on that right hip. Extend your left leg up for Janu Shirsasana, head to knee pose. We can start with the bent knee here. This is kind of nice for the lower back. Just allow the sternum to drape over this left thigh. You can grab the shin, ankle, or the foot. As the chin tucks, slowly slide that left leg out. Try to keep a connection with the belly and the thigh as you slide that left leg out. Forehead to the shins. in that direction. Doesn't need to touch, just moving in that direction. If you have your foot and you feel like you can go further, you can also keep reaching beyond the foot and then stack right hand over left. Always another place to go in the pose to keep your mind focused, to make it interesting just to you. It's a very personal practice. One more exhale, sink down into this head to knee pose. Really feel that left hamstring liven up. Lifting up out of the forward fold. Come back onto your hands and knees. Couple cat-cows. Realign the spine. And then slide your left knee forward behind your left wrist. And you choose. Come to sleeping swan first. Kind of play with it. See if that works for you. Forward fold over this left shin with your weight into that left thigh, left hip. Or come into pigeon pose. Face the short end of your mat, lift up, and then slide that right leg back until you're onto the top of the right shin, the right foot. Stay in that first variation. If this is too intense and you want to run away from the pose, just stay in the first variation. If you're in pigeon, forward fold, come to the hands, forearms, maybe the forehead. Notice the difference from side to side. We all have them. Most importantly, just breathe consciously, fully right now. Take a deep breath. Exhale, sink into the posture. Let gravity draw you to the floor. Deep breath. Feel the belly raises up onto the shin or ankle. And exhale. Relax. Lots of input here. What is it telling you? Maybe it's telling you you need to back off. And then plant the palms, lift up, swing that right leg forward. So coming to head to knee pose on your right. That left foot comes to the inner thigh. If it's hard on your knee or hip, you can always bring a pillow or something under that left knee. Turn and face that right leg, bend the knee, let your belly just fall over onto that thigh. Yes, we forgot the twist. I'll come back to that in a minute. Walk your hands down the shin, ankle, maybe grab the foot, and slide that right heel out, forward folding. Inhaling, maybe your body lifts up ever so slightly, making room for that breath. Exhale, forward fold. And lifting up out of head to knee pose. And cross that right foot outside the left thigh. Start to marinate down onto these hips. If the right hip doesn't want to come down, just take the foot in front of the shin instead. When you're ready, start to twist to your right. Sweep that right hand behind you as close to the tailbone as is comfortable. Maybe cross that left elbow outside the right thigh. Connect the two. Press the thigh into the elbow into the thigh. This helps you get into a little deeper twist. And then as you inhale, get a little bit taller through the crown of the head. As you exhale, roll that right shoulder blade back. And unwind. One breath to the opposite side. And now bringing the soles of the feet together for Baddha Konasana. Baddha Konasana, we slide the heels as close to the groin as is comfortable. And start to grab the feet and the thumbs. Open up the feet like a book here. And sometimes it's kind of helpful to imagine that you have two ropes on the ends of the knees and somebody's pulling on those ropes. This will maybe release your groins a little bit more. Inhaling, lift up, straight spine, straight back, and then forward fold, maybe an inch, maybe a half inch, doesn't matter, to the point where you realize you're learning something new about yourself. There's some input there. Exhale, forward fold a little bit more. If you're very open in the hips, you can use your arms, your elbows to open up the thighs a little bit more. What's happening in that lower back? Last breath, breathe into the lower back, SI joint, and then lift up. This time we're going to come into sleeping tortoise. So you're going to keep the soles of the feet together, but slide the legs out. So you're forming more of a diamond shape with the legs. You can bring the hands onto the ankles or the feet, or start to slide the wrists underneath the ankles. This time, round the spine, consciously round the spine, tuck the chin, tuck the tailbone, and forward fold, as if you're going to bring the crown of the head into the soles of the feet. That connective tissue around that hip joint becomes really conscious now. You can really feel a lot of input in areas that you don't normally pay attention to. You don't maybe ever feel this kind of stretch in your daily activity. It should feel good. Should feel good on the lower back and the hips. Last breath. Breathe in fully. Breathe out completely. Nice. Lifting up out of your sleeping tortoise pose. Bring the thighs together. And you're going to start to bring your hands and arms underneath your legs. You can grab your wrists. You can grab your elbows. Keep that connection of your belly and your thighs. And start to slide out for intense Western stretch. If your backs of your knees are almost flat to the floor, then you can start to move your arms out from underneath your legs and reach for your toes. Reach for a bind, grabbing your big toes with your two peace fingers, tucking your thumb. Otherwise, just keep your arms underneath the knees, because this is a little more healthy on the back if you have tight hamstrings. And breathe wherever you're at. Just breathe deeply into that space that's opening up. And if you have a bind, release it, lift out. And now doing a little counter pose here, coming onto your mat. Bend your knees. You can point your fingers away or bring your fingers so that they face your feet. Just roll the shoulders out of the way. Get some space between the earlobes and the shoulders. Maybe drop the skull back. Maybe lift the hips up. Just rock the hips forward and up for reverse table. We've done a lot of forward folding, so we need to do some counter poses here. Really press into the circles of the hands if you're in that full reverse table pose. Open the chest, maybe drop the skull back. Lift the hips a little bit more, and then lower if they're up, lower them down. Coming all the way down onto your back. Keep the knees bent here. Bring the hands alongside the body. And keep shimmying the shoulders down away from your ears. So you want to feel like you're reaching your middle finger towards your heels. And if possible, touch the backs of your heels with that middle finger. And then bring your awareness to the lower back. The lumbar spine most likely is curving away from the floor. Press the lumbar spine into the floor so there's no space. And rock it in the opposite direction. So exaggerate that curve now, lifting the lumbar spine off the floor. Now press it back in. So you can continue doing this pelvic rock. Or the next time that the lumbar spine is flattened to the floor, there's no space, then lift the hips up for bridge pose. Bringing the shoulder blades together, maybe grabbing the edges of your mat, maybe binding your palms underneath you so you can rock the shoulder blades together a little bit more. Press the shins away. Lift the sternum a little bit higher towards the chin. And then release whatever bind you have from underneath you and lower down, bringing the knees into the chest. Squeeze the knees into the chest. We're going to go back into bridge pose. Flatten the feet to the floor. Flatten the lumbar spine to the floor and lift the hips up. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Bind underneath you. If you didn't bind the first time, maybe you can this time. Press the shins away. And then release whatever bind you might have. Lower down. Squeeze the knees into your chest. Last time, flatten the feet to the floor. Hands alongside the body. Lift the hips up. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Press the shins away. And exhale, lower down. Squeeze the knees into your chest. And this time, let the knees come apart so that you're bringing the knees a little more towards the armpits. Preparing for happy baby pose. So this can be a version of happy baby here, or you can slide the hands down and grab the outsides of the feet. And then draw the knees into the armpits, close to the ribs. Feet face the sky. Feet apart, the width of your body. Breathe into that lower back. And then release happy baby pose by extending the legs straight up. So we're going to come and do an inversion, and a nice way to do this, which works with gravity, is to just bring your wrists and hands underneath your sacrum to support you. If you would like to come into plow pose, which is kind of a more intense posture, but really, really good for the back, then get a little momentum. Start to rock these legs up and behind you, grabbing your back, working your feet behind you. Maybe the toes come to the floor. Keep your hands on the back. If the toes don't come to the floor, or you're just staying in that supported inversion. If you're in plow pose, come into shoulder stand, lifting the feet up, letting the legs come up over the hips, Support your back with the flat part of your hands. Closer to your shoulder blades, the better. Shoulder blades come together, elbows come together. Or you're still in the first variation, just enjoying what it feels like to be upside down, looking at the world from a different perspective. If you're in shoulder stand, full shoulder stand, come back into plow. Release your hands from your back and using your abdominal strength, come into that first variation. Sit onto the backs of the hands. And now everybody's going to lower the legs down to the floor to the count of 10. Exhaling, 10, 9, 8. Keep lowering the legs. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then bring the hands out from underneath you. Arms come out into a T, palms face up. Take a second here. Arrange your body so it feels symmetrical. And then hug the knees into your chest. Take a nice deep breath in, and then let the knees fall over to the right side. Right hand onto the left thigh, coming into a reclined twist. If your eyes were open, you'd be looking over that left middle finger. Let your ankles relax, toes relax. Now, this is a really nice way to open up the lower back, but if you'd like to make it a little deeper, stretch and also maybe a little bit into that IT band, straighten the legs so you're in more of an L shape, stacking left leg over right. Maybe take that right leg down now for reclined reverse triangle. That right leg can slide down the length of your mat. The left leg stays out where it was at. Maybe grab the toe, big toe with your right hand, or just keep that hand on that top leg. It's a pretty intense stretch, but feels really, really good. When it's over, it feels much lighter. The body feels much lighter. Let the gravity do its work. If you're resisting, stop working so hard to protect your body if it doesn't need it. If you have a bind, release. Hug the knees into the chest. Just lower your feet for a moment here. Bring the feet back to the mat. And you're going to move your hips about 2 or 3 inches to the right. Then hug the knees back in. This is going to align your spine. And then exhale the knees over to the left elbow. Right armpit just empties back down into the floor. Look over that right shoulder. Left hand onto the right knee. Just a gentle reminder to relax that top leg. And if you took the other variations on the first side, start to straighten the legs so you're in an L shape, right leg on top. And maybe slide that left leg down along the mat. The lower leg slides down onto the mat. Right leg stays where it's at. Maybe grab the big toe with your left peace fingers. Look over that right shoulder. Release whatever bind you have and roll over onto your belly. Coming into a crocodile pose. Grabbing your arms, forehead to the arms, big toes together, heels apart. Find your breath here. You can really sense the pushing and the pulling of the diaphragm here. As you inhale, the diaphragm flattens, and all those organs that live below it expand into the floor. Exhale, the diaphragm domes up, releases the belly and the organ. And now sliding the hands underneath your shoulders, forehead to the floor, we're going to come to half cobra. So half cobra, you're going to lift the hands up about an inch off the mat. Squeeze your bum here. Squeeze the bum to protect the back. And then start to lift up. Use that upper back strength to lift you up. Doesn't need to be a very big movement to feel how strong that upper back is. Lift up a little bit more, maybe a little micro movement. And then plant the hands, lower chest, chin, and then forehead back to the mat. This time we'll do cobra with the arms, but try to use that upper back strength again. So start lifting up, using that upper back strength, that area just below the neck, and then engage the arms. Pull those elbows back, lift the heart, curl the belly, the chest, the throat up off the mat, elbows pulling back behind you. Squeeze your bum here to protect the back. And then lower back down. Keep your hands where they're at, but press into the mat, lift up, and come back into child's pose. Big toes together, knees apart. And just take notice of how this child pose changes each time you move into it. As you start to melt away the stress and holding, as the body starts to soften. And sliding back out onto your belly. And roll over back onto your back. So finding that bench or a couch or a chair, you're going to move over to that prop that you found at the beginning. And just let your calves rest onto that chair or couch, even a bed. Let your calves rest. And let your back be completely surrendered into the floor. Arms can come out behind you like a cactus. Armpits open, the backs of the hands into the mat. Very receptive pose. So with these props, like the chair or whatever you've chosen, you can feel the lower back, which sometimes takes the brunt of our stress. You can feel that lower back, get a little bit of relief. Feel that separation of the joint space. You can also just use a wall if that's better, just letting your legs slide up a wall if you'd prefer. But it's kind of nice to leave your calves on the bench for now, or whatever you've found, a chair. Just bringing your right hand to your lower belly wherever you're at, and your left hand above your belly button. Finding your breath. Breathing in through the two nostrils. Be aware of which hand raises up first and which one lowers as you exhale. We're going to just do a little bit of a pranayama practice here. So on your next inhale, silently count to yourself 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold your breath at the top for 4, 3, 2, 1. And let the breath slide out through the 2 nostrils to the count of 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale when it's natural for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold the breath at the top for 4, 3, 2, 1. And let that exhale be longer than the inhale. One more time with this conscious breathing. Inhaling, fill the lungs, hold the breath, and let that exhale be longer than the inhale, completely emptying out. So you can come to natural, normal breath now. And if you'd like to come into Shavasana, the more traditional way, you can remove your prop, or if this just feels kind of nice, staying here for the next 5 minutes or so. And I'm going to eventually just sort of fade away so that you can stay in Shavasana as long as you'd like. Traditionally, it's about 7 to 10 minutes, but we never do that. We never have that luxury on these Zoom practices. So you can choose to do that if you'd like. I'm going to just read something as you figure out whatever Shavasana you'd like to be in, from Pema Chodron, who is a Buddhist nun. This comes from her book, The Wisdom of No Escape and the Path of Loving Kindness. So there's a story of a woman running away from tigers. She runs and runs, and the tigers are getting closer and closer. And when she comes to the edge of a cliff, she sees some vines there, so she climbs down and holds on to the vines. Looking down, she sees that there are tigers below her as well. And she then notices that a mouse is gnawing away at the vine to which she is clinging. She also sees a beautiful little bunch of strawberries close to her, growing out of a clump of grass. She looks up, and she looks down, and she looks at the mouse. And then she just takes a strawberry, puts it in her mouth, and enjoys it thoroughly. Tigers above us, tigers below us. This is actually the predicament that we are always in terms of our birth and death. Each moment is just what it is. It might be the only moment of our life. It might be the only strawberry we'll ever eat. We could get depressed about it, or we could finally appreciate it and delight in the preciousness of every single moment of our life. just fade away and end our Zoom practice. You can choose to stay there as long as you like, whatever feels best for your body today. I really appreciate you all being here. Have a beautiful rest of the day. The light in me bows to the lights in you. Namaste.